pancake time at IHOP. So put on your stretchy pants and find out how many delicious, world-famous buttermilk pancakes you can eat. But you better hurry, because all-you-can-eat pancakes ends February 12th. IHOP. Eat up every moment. Stretchy pants and find out how many delicious, world-famous buttermilk pancakes.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
There will be moments in your life that you'll never be ready for. Your little girl getting married being one of them.
It's all-you-can-eat pancake time at IHOP. So put on your stretchy pants and find out how many delicious, world-famous buttermilk pancakes you can eat. But you better hurry, because all-you-can-eat pancakes ends February 12th. IHOP. Eat up every moment.
7 days and 7 nights, I haven't seen you for a while. You got me thinking, you got me lost, lost in translation, I'm feeling gone. But for now, all I have to say is hello, goodbye. But for now, all I have to say is hello, goodbye. All I have to say is hello, goodbye. All I have to say is hello,
We are strong. We belong. Through the night we fight. With our love conquer all. With the fire in our hearts, this is what matters. All that matters. This is what matters. All that matters. Here we are on our own. Give me more. We'll soar with our love. Conquer all with the fire in our This is what matters. All that matters.
Listen to that inner voice that is telling you to hold on. Hold on to what you believe, a belief much bigger than a dream. He said, take your stuff and go and explore what's about to come. Hold on to what you believe, a belief much bigger than a dream. He said, take your stuff and go and explore what's about to come. Hold on to what you believe. Hold on to what you I remember when I was young, and my father told me, listen, son, listen to that inner voice that is telling you to hold on. Hold on to what you believe, a belief much bigger than a dream. He said, take your stuff and go and explore what's about to come. Hold on to what you believe, a belief much bigger than a dream. He said, take your stuff and go and explore what's about to come. Hold on to what you believe. Hold on to what
All right, so I'm just turning this on because I like it when you guys get to hear us talk about what we're doing. So what I was doing is trying to feel this out, and the scale of the trees seems too small to me. In general, like these guys might be okay for just kind of like a medium basic tree. So like our smaller ones are, somewhere in this range. But what I want to do is, you can see how this is very lit and open. And what I'm trying to do is kind of create like a dense, more dark cave-like area where all the white on the outside would be surrounded by like smaller trees and forest.
Yeah.
And then as you go in here, it's supposed to get darker and darker. The problem is I think I just need to change the way I'm doing the canopies so they're not letting so much light in.
Is our lighting in a state where it's going to accurately look like this?
No, we're changing everything. We're gonna when George gets time, we're gonna do a whole update to the lighting that's not going to be this.
Okay. So it's
In the
hard to
meantime-
judge how dark it is.
Oh yeah, don't worry about that. I'm just telling you about where this is going. I'm not worried right now about that. What I'm just thinking about is the size of things. Dion made this tree that has like its legs, like a mangrove, that you would go under. And that feels about as small as I'd want. I mean, you can see like somewhere in between here where this hill, let me find one that's not on a hill. Like, this, to me, feels a little tight. Just could be a little bit higher for camera. I don't know if you have any strong feeling about it, but I kind of like all these nooks and crannies that you might be able to run through.
Well, right now you have no collision on this thing, right?
Oh, good point.
So
Yeah,
your
so
camera.
So right now I'm not bouncing around like crazy.
Yeah.
So my gut is probably right that it needs to be spread out a little bit more.
Well, and we've also talked about having a better camera solution in general when it comes to interiors, especially.
Yeah, see-through and stuff like that.
Yeah, because if we have see-through and you don't bounce your camera off of things, it allows us to bring stuff in tighter, and it allows us to have smaller interior spaces,
Well, I'm kind of-
which players are inevitably going to have in their constructed buildings anyway.
Yeah.
So having tighter spaces in the natural environment, if we're planning on solving that for the player-created housing environment already, maybe not that big of a deal.
But in the short term, I think I'm going to go with safer
Yeah.
and make it a little bit wider. I mean, I can always, we can even just set it down farther in the ground at a later point. So experimentally, I made, like, I feel like these guys just need to be bigger. Like, I want to be able to run around on them, and I feel like, I mean, like, you can tell this doesn't have collision, but there's not a lot of, it's not like I'm really running around on this tree. I'm just kind of hitting the bumps and stuff, and I figure what I'll do is where I spawn these trees, I'll make the terrain kind of lumpy and blend in and roots and stuff and kind of look like it, so that it kind of slopes in.
Well, since it's so slow, I mean, these aren't roots that are coming, like, straight down, right? They're coming kind of outwards, which means that that's going to be things that players get on top of and run around.
Yeah, well, right now we kind of just stuffed some geometry in here. Like, what I'm going to do is once I go, oh, I like the scale, then I'm going to fuck with, like, getting on it and making it easier to run around. But I mean, like, here, this is kind of like a small one that you run around on. This guy, I need to make him so that you could, get up on him. Right now, he's...
Oh, you want players on top of that?
Yeah, so like, imagine if you started like here. So you'd be able to, oh, he's too slippery.
Right.
Yeah, I figured this angle was too steep, which makes it a new challenge. So here I am running around up on this guy. Do you have any feelings about this?
Well, it's... I don't know. If you're going to have these, like, literally everywhere, like, they're very common. Like, you can see there's another one right there, there's another one right there. They're going to be just, like, scattered around all over the place. You might end up in some weird situations where players are all at disparate heights that are difficult to traverse. Like, it's a matter of how you do the bottom of that tree, right? You're not just going to have it be like a ramp all the way straight going up there, but you kind of have to do something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I have to, there'll be, clutter. This is just geometry kind of wedged in the bottom. Like, there'll have to be some kind of, like, get up on top of it.
Yeah.
And I don't. So, feeling out the question here, like, should we go just less of the climb onable and make them a little bit more unique? Because the concept is to take this as like some of these assets that we could then use, like, oh, what if the depths came into play and we were, more fucked up and more like there's another version of this we could go to more of an extreme where you're running around on things more often. So I feel like maybe we treat these where it's fairly easy to get up and you're running around on top of them as the more unique ones.
Are you talking about? I'm totally lost when you bring the depths into a conversation about trees.
What I'm saying is why is this not working? I think my question is should I make these like you can climb up on more of them or less of them? Or, I mean, like, do I need to worry about the height? Like, if this is my total distance, do we kind of want to say, like, gameplay takes place here and very rarely here? Is there kind of an idea of that? Can you point me in the right direction?
No, I mean, the way the game is going to have to work overall is going to support vastly disparate height situations, right? So if you have on top of a castle wall versus on the ground, like there's going to be this problem of looking down and looking up at things already. And so being able to have the camera out to a certain distance so that we can see, like if you're running around in this environment, right? Based on your character being there, based on how far you can pull back the camera, based on where the camera is looking. Right now the camera is looking a bit low. I think it needs to actually have its focal point raised a bit. But based on all of that, if your characters are still, like if your character is here, your camera is here, your viewport is like this. If things are up here, then you're constantly crashing your camera into the ground to try to look up, and that's about the point that you don't want to try to go above. But below that, it's generally okay because we're going to be in situations where there's a significant height difference.
Well, I mean, here, that seems doable because obviously if I get under it, I got to look up. Like... And this camera is not pulled out as far as some people. I mean, it locks in closer when you're in this mode. When I go into another zone, just for whatever reason, the camera doesn't pull as far back. If I'm just in hatchery, I'm in my own zone with my own character. I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm not sure because you run at a different speed and stuff too.
Yeah.
I think is somehow coded to be different than what's on hatchery.
So in this case, this might be my highest. And that's kind of how I've got the Maya scenes set up.
So that you can see.
Yeah, so what have I got you guys seeing? You're seeing the right screen, okay. So the larger ones, let's see, mediums. So you can see the mediums all kind of sit roughly in the same area here. And you can't get up on this stuff. Like the most you'll be able to get up onto is these humps down here. And I'm planning on kind of giving you some little bumps and switchbacks and stuff, but the terrain will interact with differently too. And then these are kind of my two leaning ones that get you up really high. I mean, the only other problem is going to be is if players are getting themselves up here and they're launching themselves into these trees, but they're still all roughly at the same height here. And I was just going to make the rest canopy. So the rest would just be, big trees poking up. Right.
Yeah.
And then that would give me plenty of space to let players get up onto between a few trees. It's not going to turn into a jungle gym.
Well, inevitably that is what happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, players are going to get themselves out on these huge branches and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the question is whether or not, for the time being, we add collision in the upper branches, or just say no, that's outside of kind of our horizontal or vertical gameplay space.
Anytime you have like a long path to get up somewhere, you're creating a severe advantage for ranged characters.
Oh, because it takes a long time to get up there and get them.
Yeah.
So if I make, well...
it's not necessarily bad, it's just
yeah,
that,
the problem
like,
is
if you're putting them everywhere, if this is like every few meters there's another one of these trees, then this entire area is bad for melee characters.
Got it. So they need to be kind of sparse.
Either somewhat sparse or make them like really easy to get onto without getting shot at. So if there's I could point back at like the way that we put together some of the things for the place of power, but the idea of like, while I'm getting to where I'm going, the person who is at the place where I'm going to can't be shooting me the entire time.
So
then it's not as bad.
So like on the top of this guy, like if I were running up, I'd want a couple of like roots or something crisscrossing this that would make it so that I can duck behind and walk my way up.
Yeah, you could do something like that where there's some bits sticking up from there so that you can have a bit more of an approach. That also helps a little bit about characters standing on top of there, because they're not just standing there completely exposed. Because if you just have a sort of a flat space like that and you're just standing there, the only thing you can do is step back, right? So if somebody's below you, you can step back and have that cover you, but you can't like duck behind something. If someone, like if you're sitting here shooting up at that guy, he can't do anything but just stand there and shoot back at you, so there's not as much he can do. So yeah, adding a bit more interest.
I mean, what I figure may happen at the extreme is that someone's going to run up this thing. So just so you guys can see I'm pointing, I'll just explain. I'm running up from the right-hand side of this tree up to the center where all the branches diverge. And technically, if it was randomly placed, you could then leap your way over there.
You could be on top of the whole other tree.
Yeah, and then the only problem with that is I'd have to make sure that all the trees you can get up on them.
Which probably is a good plan.
But the only problem is that means because of the size of these things, I'm basically making a spiral staircase on every single one.
Well,
that's really the only way to get up on it.
That's how to get up. But like, so if, for example, in this specific case, if you can go from the slanted tree to the upright tree, the upright tree doesn't need a spiral staircase on it. If it's standing by itself, you can't get on top of it. But if a tree is next to it, you can get on top of it.
So assumed I've already done that.
Yeah.
I've already given a way to get to it.
Well, so the tree on the left, you don't need a way for players to actually climb that tree to get on top of it.
Now, what about the inventive players who make a wind wall and launch their character through it with like 2 wind wall pushes and get themselves into a tree where that was the only way to get to it? I mean, is that just kind of emergent?
Fine.
Fair?
Yeah, well, yeah, because like unless you're in some strategically important location, like this is just like out in the middle of a forest somewhere, right? If you're around an objective or something where you create situations like that, it can be bad because you can get players in a location where they're inaccessible. And so if you have a bunch of archers or something on top of something and you have a bunch of melee characters who want to attack them and there's no way for the characters to get to each other.
Yeah.
If it's in the middle of a forest, they just leave.
Yeah.
If they're in the middle of some important objective, then they are defending that objective really effectively because they're essentially invulnerable. The other thing that you can do... Are we looking at this?
I was just seeing if anywhere... I was just... Part of the reason why I'm turning the mic on and why I'm asking so many questions is this is all still new to me. When I was saying to Ben the other day, all my time at EA, you just kind of got a box model and put art around it, and there was no real discussion about it. So now we're doing things a little bit in tandem.
Yeah, the other thing you can do just in your mod, if you're going to have things like this, is your ground here. I guess you just haven't done it yet, but there's going to be more clutter things.
Oh yeah, right? Yeah. There's going to be more stuff.
And so the stuff that you put in here, if you put some good obstacles, some good blockers and stuff, you can approach that tree that has a bunch of archers on top of it and hide behind things. So if they're spaced in such a way that you can move from one cover to the next and approach that without them having just free reign to shoot at you the entire time, that's going to help mitigate that advantage somewhat.
Yeah. So you guys know where I'm going with this. I'm trying to hit a few birds with one stone, because there's the first forest we did was kind of just a very generic pile of forests, and it was a great stress test for how many trees and just poly count and how many players we could get in there. And I think like the pine forest, we've thrown 300-400 guys into the middle of it and been like, fine.
Yeah.
And then the same with the old forest, but what I want to do is kind of trade off the you see a bunch of trees, I want to trade off some of those trees and make like these big trees. So you're kind of coming through the forest, it gets darker and darker, and then you start getting into kind of the old trees. And these are the ones that have survived through the dense forest, and then so the idea is I'm going to put a bunch of like dead trees and dead sticks and other shit just kind of all around the ground, and I have to take into gameplay. So I'm going to be doing this conversation again. I've got another scene where I just got all these pieces of wood, and I want to just kind of have dead trees and dead stumps, and these are like the big, as Michelle put it, mother trees that have survived. So these guys are going to be like the really big ones, but they're going to be dark. I want to kind of go for more of a cave-like idea with some bioluminescent, things that live in the dark and some big lights. So it is kind of creepy and spooky, and you're kind of moving from light to light to light, and the players have these just dense pockets that are kind of fucked up and more fantasy-like. And then we had talked about, like, since these trees have a more gnarled look, like we could then use these assets to take them later and turn it into, what if the depths, the entrance to the depths had spawned in this forest? Would we then, would it show its influence, and it would just be this fucked up forest all around the depths gates? So Michelle is currently working on concepting of what that progression looks like, which will give me a start and a stop point for these guys. But in the meantime, I'm just trying to figure out the scale, talk to Ben about, what happens when players can get on these things. And just like this, how many things do I need to worry about so that it's actually fun running around in here? And once I put in more stuff, this is kind of like the largest, and there's going to be like a medium area and then a tiny area. And the medium area is the part that I need to worry about because it's going to add more collision, basically, to the game. And I have sketches of all different kinds of little tree ideas. So I'm going to just keep making stuff. I think I scaled all these guys up from my base assets a little bit, so I'm going to just scale my base assets up to match and work on some big logs and sticks and stumps. Stick all that shit in there and just kind of see what that feels like. And then the idea is this kind of looks like a beach. It'll probably be like moldy, wet leaves, puddles of water, moss and stuff like that.
Yeah, just making your ground have a dark texture will make this look a lot darker.
Oh, yeah.
Even if you don't change the lighting.
Yeah, right now it works out great because I don't have any lights. If I made everything dark right now, since we light the world with all the colors and intensity around you, I would essentially make it very hard to see in here. So I'm not going to do that until I actually add some light sources to the trees. And the idea there is to have, I don't know, we'll figure it out, some kind of weird, fucked up bioluminescent shit hanging from the, man, I swear a lot. Hanging from the trees, little pockets of light, little plants that are weird and stuff. And then hopefully that will light it up enough that when you're running around, you still can see and feel what you're doing, but you still feel like you're getting into these kind of just dark areas where, it's creepy. And creepy mainly in a sense of, is anybody else around you? Can anybody else hear me? When we 2 years ago when I first started, we built this little area to run around, and the minute someone would light a torch to see where they were going, you could just spot them off in the distance and start picking them off. So those kind of choices are fun. Is there anything else you want me to do with what you're seeing so far?
So you said you're going to have a little bit more variety of tree sizes? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so these are in medium and large right now. So like this guy is considered a large tree. He goes up higher, and he's just got a bigger base. I probably will make this base a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And then these guys are the mediums. You can see they're a little similar. I think that's because I just scaled these guys up and forgot to scale those guys up.
What if you put in some that were like 3 to 5 times as big?
You mean big fucking tree?
Yeah. Because right now it's just like you look off in a direction and it's just tree, and they all kind of look the same. Like there's no
Big.
landmark of a thing, right? And like out in the open, it's kind of fine because you're like, oh, there's mountains over in that direction. I know which way I'm going.
Well, here, let's do that. Oh, I don't want to unload that. No, don't launch this. All right, so what I'll do, let me just add another tree. Something, I think Gabe did something that broke a part of the editor.
Broke a part of the editor?
I'm saying it out loud and see if Gabe heard me. Yeah, when you, well, when I add a new column in the spawners, it asks like base or resource node, and anything I add in the tier below doesn't show up. Does that make sense? You know, spawnables, you can make a list, and they all interact with each other. If you go down one and make a new column below it, then that one does not have knowledge of the one above it, and those don't show up. So I'll make a bug for it eventually. I'm just guessing, since when I made them there was something that was related to you. You broke it. Let's see. Let me just add a big fucker in here. See that little thing that popped up? That was new.
And so the idea of this is that this would have realm variations too eventually?
Yes.
Okay.
Alright, so let's make him 3 times as big. Here, I'll just make him 4 times as big. Oh, 3 is going to be huge. We'll give him a 200 low probability. See, I can't. I usually would use the other column for this. Does not like that I don't have collision on these pieces. Let's see. Drop a big one in here. You seen a big one?
Can you look above them to see? Because it'll stick
Yeah.
up, right?
Yeah, it's this one here. Still not as big as we probably want. I'd have to make him flatter. Otherwise he'll reach up to the stratosphere. Make him a little more often. There he is. Yeah, that actually is a pretty cool idea. This exposure control's a pain in here.
So if you could actually model one that's supposed
Yeah,
to
yeah, no, I like that idea. There you go.
Yeah.
There's a couple of really just giant fuckers.
Yeah,
No, good idea. That looks way better. I just need to shorten them.
yeah.
I could just have real big. All right.
And
Gotcha.
you might be able to even bring
Because this would be fun to make things where you could run around on the feet.
right, yeah. You might even be able to make those the canopies broaden out more. Like it looks like you're taking like this tree trunk, like it goes really thick up to here, and then it just shatters, right? Instead of like branch, like if you look at an oak tree, like it branches in like really big branches to smaller branches to smaller branches. It doesn't like go up really thick and then like shatter in a million directions all at the same time. It branches more gradually.
I know what you're saying. Why are you saying that?
Because that would allow you to get your canopies to spread more, so that each tree would have more leaf coverage.
Oh, yeah. Part of the reason why I didn't do what you said is since most of the focal point is going to be below the canopy, I didn't want to stick a lot of polys up there because of the size and spreading them really far out. I'll probably edit it some more so they do go farther out, just because I need the canopies to be wider. But I didn't want to put a lot of polys up there. So that's why you kind of have like a bit of a negative space.
Yeah, it would end up being more flat.
Yeah, what I may but what I may also do is just put a few cards in there, just branches, big branches to fill the space.
Yeah, could do.
Okay, so we need to have a. I did that 5 times as big. That's a good idea. And then I'll just lower his canopy, but that actually looks really cool. Let me save this. Apparently, closing the. So one of the things about game development is there's a lot of people doing a lot of different things, and if you're not constantly touching stuff, bugs get introduced, and nobody knows about them until Tyler goes in and makes a new biome. Alright, this should rebuild. Maybe it did.
Maybe it did, because you're under the ground.
Fly?
Can you just push G or something?
No, I don't think so. I think it's only in Q. Am I stuck? Oh, I'm just stuck. Let me just reload it. Ugh. Zone resource ID. God, everything's gone. Alright, well, I gotta start the editor. Oh, wait.
Don't you just have that written down somewhere?
Yeah, it's right there. I was trying to do that in the editor. So I hope those of you who are watching are, yeah, you guys are doing exactly what I thought you'd do, is coming up with different concepts of what would happen if I was an archer and I was out there. All right, this doesn't have a big one. This has the, so there's the big one.
Francis Budd asks, why does the map go dark and bright?
There's an overexposure control that simulates your iris opening and closing when you go into dark areas and bright areas. So what happens is when you're looking out through a dark area into a bright area, the dark area gets darker because your iris literally is closing because there's all this bright light coming into you, and then the reverse. None of our lighting is set right now. We have a whole other pass of lighting to do, but that's what it's doing. So if I go like this and I look, let's see if I can make this happen. So if I'm in this kind of neutral area, and then I look up into the sky where it's brighter, you see the foreground darkens, and then I go back over here and my iris opens up and it gets brighter. I think we just need to slow it down a little, but I'm not really worried about it right now. So anyway, there's a big fucker. Yeah, I like that. And then what I'm thinking is we'll have some little smaller trees, and there'll be, you know, guys poking off of these, and little branches and saplings and things. Yeah. There'll be a whole like close-up view of the tree. So let's see. And then we'll have, I think there's a mod on this bit of terrain. I think we've added that. I get these bare patches.
Are you gonna have some big, like, rock type of things, or
yeah,
that's like?
Yeah, what I was gonna do is build a couple of potatoes or something, and spawn them in some slopes, like do a big stretch of slope, and then spawn some rocks in it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's gonna come out because I have no control over where they spawn within that slope. I'm going to try it, and then what I thought I would do is grab some of the trees and wrap them around the rock, you know, so that I can actually have some trees spawn around, and then use the rocks as slopes instead of just slopes.
Are you going to have, like, fallen down trees or something?
Yep.
Okay. So there will be some big ground clutter here.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right now I'm just trying to separate out the trees enough that you're kind of like, okay, I have some space around in here, and I'll probably, you know, make sure the big trees are in a separate section on the mod than the smaller shit.
Yeah, I was just looking at, like, how much additional ground clutter
but I like
players
this.
can have to run around. Yeah.
That was a great idea. Because we don't want players going all the way up there. We want you in the kind of gameplay space. That's a good idea. Okay. And probably what I'll do is, right now all the medium-sized trees are all set to 1.2. There's no variance in them. Yeah. So we'll probably add a little bit more variance to them, so there is, because right now it's fairly similar. I just wanted to get a good idea where this sat. Actually looks really neat. I think there's another tree going through it, which looks cool. One of the things I was hoping with is if I made the texture fairly generic plant-like, that once the trees accidentally mixed, they would they'd look like they were supposed to.
That's a good thought.
Yeah, but I think this looks cool. And what I'll do is, I know what you mean, I'll probably just thicken this out and do the long, curvy tendril branches. Here, I'll show you what I'm doing with the, so last night I spent like 2.5 hours just downloading all the 3D scans of wood from Megascans. So these are all the wood pieces I grabbed, so you can see like logs and branches and sticks. And these things though, like I'm gonna have to just figure out like what size they're. Like this would be a great thing at this scale, just to put some collision on it and bury it in the ground, so it's little bumps and things, and stuff that's sticking out. But the other thing is you take something like this and you make it, you know, like a dead tree, right? And then, you know, you could have things you go under it, you get up on it. So that's what I'm planning on doing with these big guys. And the same thing with, like, let's see, even this thing, right? Like if this was just a big
Because you're just
fallen
a big repeating
branch.
texture, right?
Yeah, it's just a big fallen branch. And then what I'll do is there's going to be a distant reed, which is a shape. And then as you get closer to these things, we'll put moss on it and, mushrooms and little bullshit on it.
all that stuff out.
Yeah. Yeah, all that stuff will come in as you run up to it. But I just grabbed all of these.
Yeah, those are all good.
Yeah, they're all 3D scans. But the funny thing is like, these literally are these are scanned pieces that are like this big or something in the real world. But, all I have to do is just use these as the sides of trees. And this is like a good example. It's a big piece of bark. So, I can just scale this up and thin it out coming off of ripped off the side of a tree or something, and it creates a little place that you can run up on top of and things like that. So I'm going to try and use all these guys. And for those of you listening, these are all, there's a website called Megascans. The great thing about the game industry now for small studios is there's a lot of companies. You can get your own engine, obviously, and now there's a lot of companies that are making the art that you can then use, like Unity Store, the Unreal Store. And in this case, Megascans is a company from Quixel that I've been keeping track of. And they do 3D scans, photorealistic 3D scans of stuff. But all their stuff is relatively small. But I don't want to, since it's just me right now making all this stuff, goal is just try and come up with really quick ways to do things and still get good fidelity. So I'm just grabbing all this geometry, not using the textures, because that would just be a terrible waste of memory to have unique textures on all these guys. And I can merge them into the trees and stuff. And if you look at the recent file, the one with the trees, some of the pieces that I just kind of mushed onto there were just to kind of give it noise and different tree shapes without having to sit there and move every little vertex around to get exactly what I wanted. It just makes it a lot faster. That's why when you look in there, some of the trees have holes and stuff, and then they're all just kind of pieces put together and to be like, well, that's the shape I wanted.
Yeah. And it looks like if you can keep your materials consistent across those, you can just make them basically as big as you want.
Oh, yeah.
The polys hold up.
Yeah. And I spent some time looking at Guild Wars does a really good job with a low memory budget on their textures and just doing like little overlay geometry. Mm. Oh, there's some moss, some vines, and you just add all that stuff on and you get the feeling you're going for.
Yeah.
You won't ever be able to look up close at one of our mushrooms and go, oh, that's the most beautiful mushroom ever. No, if I did it right, it's going to be really cheap.
No, you just make it have a crazy LOD, so when you're like 2 feet away from it, it's like the
2
best
LOD.
mushroom ever.
That would actually be fun. We should... So one of the things I've said in streams, and I don't know if you look at the user stories, there's things in there that say like unique asset to find. And I've made or I've had other people make just funny little things that you might come across in the world. And later on, in the meantime, it'll be like, oh, there's a turtle under that log. That's cool. But later on, maybe we could turn it into an exploration game. But that would be fun. The most beautiful mushroom ever. You found the most beautiful mushroom ever. So if you look at these trees, if I just simplify them, like right here is a good example. This is just a bunch of noise from one of those wood pieces that I stuck on here. And then I added this little branch off the side of it. And the main thing is that I'm looking for, oops. What I'm looking for here is this shape. This is, comes out of the sketchbook. You draw a little tree and you're like, oh, I really like that. And if it's this wide, it'll have a chance to intersect with other trees and then get something really interesting. So the main goal there is just to get that main shape. And, we take these other pieces and this has been reshaped. And it's just a bunch of natural looking stuff. There's some thought in this. And it's all just to make it quicker. Okay. Cool. Anything else? That was a great idea with the big tree.
No, just was, again, looking at how much ground clutter you're going to put in and how large and what the additional
So it's going to
are.
be that stuff on a scale of either have to run around it or under it or through it. So I'd like to put like a big log that you actually walk through the dead log. I think that'd be a lot of fun, shit hanging down inside of it.
Yeah, I saw that.
And then then what I'll probably do is just move it around a little bit and make versions that are smaller that have maybe unique textures on them. I don't know, that are sticks and twigs and shit
Oh
on the
yeah,
ground.
just the little detail stuff I'm not really worried about. Just looking at like density of like how much our players gonna have to run around and through
Yeah.
things.
I
So here, like you're in.
I don't
like,
know. We're gonna have to make it and see what happens.
Yeah, here, when we've talked about there being like a really dense forest, right? Like maybe it's okay to have it be where it's really hard to run in a straight line for any amount of time because there's always things you have to kind of.
Yeah,
kind of
in this
work your
case,
way
I
through.
kind of think I'm kind of thinking you're probably going to end up kind of going through a corridor a little bit,
Yeah,
and then
that's
looking
maybe a bit
down
more
on the
okay.
corridor. I think that's what's going to happen.
and I imagine you're probably going to run this mod in a terrain environment that's fairly level. That you're probably not going to be doing this in the middle of like giant mountains.
Yeah,
or something,
I
right?
figure what I'm going to do is just have big swaths of flat area with just a
Small
little bit of
variation,
slopes
yeah.
and stuff, but then have just a big chunk that is an extra 20-30 meters up higher. That is the
That's
next
fine.
level up because
Just
we need,
terrace it a bit.
we need to have some like big level changes because the mods we've done so far are kind of big slopes.
Yeah, well, so like when we're doing our pine forest and stuff, that goes in mountain terrain,
Yeah.
right? So that's having a lot of terrain height variation that's going to cause players to adjust their pathing even without the trees even being there, right?
Yeah.
Versus this is like, because it's probably going to be more flat, it's a little bit okay.
Yeah, the
for
trees are wide too.
for the crops to be doing that work and making players
Yeah,
navigate as opposed to
Michelle's
the terrain itself.
working on concept for this thing, and one of the things once we get the maybe that fogging in there, that's going to be amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Can you imagine this with
Some
fog?
volumetric fog would be a good
With little lights and stuff. But I'm like, see, like
Michelle,
these
just
little
draw
guys,
that, right?
little guys like this.
Yeah.
These are going to be my little, that's a medium tree or something, and then I'll make like these little guys that are kind of dead with dead branches, dead leaves and stuff. And
Someday the train system will let us spawn things next to other things.
the way I've been able to, you mean like say magnet too? Yeah. The way I've been doing it is I just make, here's my noise and then there's my noise and there's my noise, and I just kind of do a circles in. Yeah, but probably also what I'll do is some of these trees I'll make variations, so I'll make like this one, then I'll make one with little spider trees coming off of it.
Oh, so if you just have variants that have them already baked in?
Yeah, then that way they're on there. It'll be kind of like how we did the dense clusters in the pine forest, where we had a bunch of little guys and bushes together so that you kind of had to get through it, and then you'd open up and you'd have big ones.
Yeah, and I think that would be if you wanted to do a few like special arrangements like that, where it's like, I put all these trees together to make it one contiguous thing that's all connected and stuff, like that would be cool once in a while.
Yeah. Well, so what Ben's kind of touching on is you don't want to have players seeing the same thing every time, but you do need to fill the world, and you've only got so much time to build things. So pretty much what I kind of do is decide, okay, that's the generic tree, and you make like 2 or 3 of those, and you just spawn those all over the place, and then you use everything else to break that up. And the idea being, if it's generic, you're not, a tree that it's nice and tall and has one branch coming out is not generic. You're suddenly going to notice that one branch poking out of every tree. You just want a basic tree. So, like this guy is a rarer tree. Okay, well I think I got my scale question answered.
Yeah.
And I got to make a big fucker. I think I actually need to make the scene smaller because Maya's having trouble sorting polys at such a scale.
Oh.
Like see the
Too much
see the
stuff in
flickering?
here. Yeah.
If I think I have to scale everything down 10 by 10 just so I can, because if I make a tree 5 times as big, it's going to do that like crazy. Let's see.
All right.
Scale. Where'd he go? Yeah, see how he's
Yeah.
sorts
like
like
that.
yeah, doesn't like that. All right.
Cool. Yay, trees.
Yes, that last comment about the sloped one, it is fairly unique. So the idea with those things is it's like they're couple thousand meters apart. I just put them in, a lot of them, to see what was going to happen. And see if I got my scale right, which I need to make them bigger, which is funny because I keep making them bigger, and one of the things I've learned is even though it looks really big in Maya, you stick it in the game and you drop the camera really far back, and as you play those types of games, and everything looks tinier. Okay, I am going to... I guess I'll let you guys just keep watching me futz with trees. Can you scan a cookie we can use in game? I answered it while I was talking, but the scanned pieces are from a company called Quixel. They have a resource called Megascans, and they scan materials, and you can use them and mix materials and stuff like that. It's really great, and I'm finally getting some time to work on with those things. But in this case, a lot of the stuff they have is not really meant for real-time stuff. Like especially in our game, I have to worry about a whole lot of players running around as well, and I have to worry about just overall density. So I have to kind of low poly everything, and then I can't put super high-res unique textures on every single little rock. So we do a lot of sharing. The main goal is that you feel like you're in a specific environment, and it doesn't need to be like you, like Megascans has some, they have scans of little pieces of moss. So if you wanted to do really close-up renders, you can see all the little bits of moss. I will gladly put in a scanned cookie. I'll write it down underneath the most beautiful mushroom. I think we need to make that. And a cookie. You guys can vote. What type of cookie am I making? Because it's going to be chocolate chip. Okay. I'm going to get back to all the work.
secrets told before, from secondhand lovers addicted. And they say run as fast as you can, like a gun, a silhouette. And they say and they say